Hey, I'm Rolf for JTRpodcast.com, and this month JTR stands for Johnson Tricks Royals. And this is what happened in September 2019, where Kickstarter isn't in union and you can give Monopoly a miss. But before we start, remember to like, share and subscribe, and remember to hit the notification bell and tell all your friends. Now, on the channel last month I did my top 50 games of all time, so make sure you check that out. And this month I'm considering doing my top 5 scary games in time for Halloween. But as things have been moving around, I've been hearing noises. I don't really want to be in a room on my own talking about spooky stuff, if I'm honest. So comment of the month this month is from Two Way Tony on Reddit, where I posted my top 10 overrated games. They said, even though you pooed on 2 of my faves, I really love this video since it kind of breaks the circle jerking over many games. That's why, of course, the board game subreddit is never going to upvote something like this. Thanks, we'd like to see more of this. Thanks TWT, that's a nice balanced comment, and again reinforces what I said in the video last month about people not really liking overly positive reviews and overly positive reviewers. The internet hates negativity. You heard it here first. So on to the main headlines. And I mentioned in last month's video that people seem to like getting their games from Kickstarter because the buy now, get later, maybe model is more appealing than pay now, get now. Well, Slate.com has reported that Kickstarter have fired 2 employees within 8 days of each other for allegedly trying to form a union. And later we found out a third person was let go too, which doesn't look great. Now, what happens behind the scenes shouldn't really affect the 7 board games that are funded a day. That's a real fact. I did my research. But it kind of is already. ICV2 report that Evil Hat have already delayed the Kickstarter launch, saying, "We haven't made any decision yet about the continuing use of Kickstarter or discontinuing it. That's what this week is for, taking in information, getting past the outrage spike and into discovery and disclosure." So they delayed the Kickstarter for Aegon for a week to see what's what, to see if it's just a big deal or if it's something that will blow over. I was important to note that Kickstarter say the firings aren't related to the union thing, but if companies like Come On and Awaken Realms take note, that could be a huge loss for Kickstarter. But Come On obviously don't at the moment, with them recently announcing a new Kickstarter, so they'll probably be okay. Also, Aegon from Evil Hat Games is now on Kickstarter after the week's delay, so obviously not a big deal according to them. So this was something. Let's move on. Now, as we move into winter, Hasbro have stoked the fires of attention by releasing another edition of Monopoly. Ms. Monopoly is a game where women make more money than men, as they start with $400 more and get $40 extra for passing go. So I, like a lot of people I assume, immediately googled Hasbro gender pay gap. This led me to gov.uk, where there is an official report that says, in this organisation, women earn 86p for every £1 that men earn when comparing median hourly wages. So what does this mean? I don't know. But with the median wage being lower is one thing. What we want to know is, which we don't have the data for, is there equal pay for equal work, which is of course how it should be. Now back to the game, and personally I like Monopoly. Do I play it now? No, but I don't have the hate for the base game that a lot of people have. Whenever a new edition of Monopoly is released, we should just ignore it and not talk about it at all. And yes, I get the irony, but people are already talking about it, I'm just joining in. Who are those people talking about it? Well, some of them are over at Reddit, so let's check those comments out in the Reddit roundup. Passport Sloth says, my husband told me about this last night and I almost rolled my eyes out of my head. As a woman, I am offended by this garbage. Giving women more money in a game isn't equality. Monopoly was already genderless. You could be a Scotty dog or a shoe. You could win a beauty contest regardless of your gender. It was a crappy game and this new iteration just makes it worse. Some excellent points. Chaos Element said, I showed my girlfriend this article. Forget that, I'm beating your ass on an even field. And of course, an uneven start will lead to more arguments at the end of the game, regardless of the winner. User Riley Rules You echoes my thoughts and says, this is just a gimmick to get free news attention and sell games. It doesn't stand for anything or care how its message comes off and affects society. No business does, and the faster we learn to stop giving them attention, the faster this headache of mine that has lasted 10 years will go away. It's okay, Riley, take some deep breaths, mate. It'll be fine. Let's see what other people are saying about other stuff. Stephen Croft put up the news about BGG redesigning their homepage and people had things to say. Stands with Pencil said, I once showed a BGG website about 5 years ago to a class as an example of bad design and usability. To which M. Brock replies, you could still show it in that room today. A bum bum tish. Mr. Mediocre says, welcome to 10 years ago BGG, and Poster says 10 years and millions of dollars in donations later, it's finally ready. Ah yes, BGG and their money again. Now this came up in the last month's video when we talked about BGG's logo. If you know, or if you're offended by BGG having money, again they are donations and they are optional, please let me know. I am genuinely interested why people are so upset that BGG make quite a bit of money. I personally donate for the convention coverage, covering all the games from Origins and Gen Con. Lets me see tons of games and allows me to rule a lot out that I don't have to buy them or feel like I need to buy them to try them. I could just ignore them and get on with the games that I actually want to play. Let's finish with Stevie, who says in the response to the original image on the post, awesome news, but charge your phone. Hilarious Elijah asks, why do people dislike Stonemaier games? Yes, finally, a topic I can get behind. I've got 15 reasons. Number 50... What? Well, it's not about me, it's my video... Okay. Barristan the Bowl starts off by saying, everyone has opinions, which is internet slang for I disagree with you, here's why. He also says games are as subjective as craft beer, which is oddly specific. I'm just going to move on. Wood for Days, haha, says, I see Stonemaier kind as the board game publisher equivalent of Apple in a strange sort of way. They're very good at establishing brand association and their products, while solid, tend to be somewhat overhyped. And I say that as someone who owns and loves Scythe. Jesta first gets to the root of the question and says, games aren't that bad, they're just overly hyped. Effectively, they're fairly typical Euros with nice pieces. Not I, haha. Backs it up basically saying that games are put on a pedestal, which leads to disappointment. And to be fair, that's as bad as the criticism really gets for Stonemaier games. The games are put on a pedestal so high that their expectations can't possibly be met unless the game is absolutely excellent, as a lot of people who like Scythe believe. That sounded more sarcastic than it was supposed to. But I've had Euphoria and I've had Between Two Cities, and in the short term I really enjoyed those games. I like viticulture, so that's something. Are we cut there? Okay. Don't tell anyone. I bought this. I don't know anything about it. I just know that it looks pretty and it was cheap, so I bought it and I'm going to give it a fair review. Even though I didn't do my full research on the game, I just followed the hype. I'm just going to, if I don't enjoy the game, I'm going to give it a negative review. That's how it works. Finally, All Caps Bastards says, this is my opinion, but I think they exemplify what is wrong with board games right now. Style over substance, or the Kickstarter model. Style over substance, where have I heard that before? Now, I've already mentioned 3 games on this list that are all looks and no substance, so let's look at a game from a company who could use that as their tagline. Ah yeah, it was me in my top 10 overrated games for Scythe. They continue with, Stonemaier games are decent, they're never good nor very bad with some exceptions. Their production value is high, which is something that attracts people to their games. I think they're overvalued. There are a lot of games out there that do what Stonemaier Games tries to do and they do it better, but get less recognition or none at all. There's also a cult-like following of Jamie Stegmaier, which is not present in better board game designers like Stefan Feld or Vlaada Chvátil. It smells funny to me. Conspiracy! No, seriously though, Stonemaier Games have made their name by releasing games that are popular and look good. Nothing wrong with that at all. Let's move on to other news. Now, if you happen to be in the north of England on the 13th to the 15th of March 2020, you can go to a great board gaming convention. I probably will, maybe. At Aircon, you could play your games with other people, play other people's games with other people, or play games with the library with people. You could play demos at booths, choose from loads of varied food options, buy from the top retailers in the UK, and probably more, I don't know, things like RPGs and stuff. It's in the International Centre in Harrogate, and tickets are from £12 to £32, depending on how many days you're going. Visit aircon.co.uk for more info, link in the description below. It's also right in the centre of town. If you've never been to Harrogate, it is a lovely place. Azor Summer Pavilion is going to be a thing. This time the tiles are diamonds. ICV2 report that games are likely to be hit by the tariff increase that's probably coming. Add that to the Kickstarter thing that's probably not a Kickstarter thing. We could see a shrinkage in the hobby, and not just because of the cold weather. Serious Pulp, or whatever they're called, announced the 7th Citadel, which will take place in a new, unique, dark fantasy world whose gameplay will be significantly enhanced compared to the 7th Continent. .esports.com have found that Riot Games have trademarks suggesting more board games are on the way. More mechs and minions? Yes, please. BGG have some proof that Terraforming Mars should be moved from sci-fi to fantasy. Ha! Puts it closer to the real TM in the board game industry, Terra Mystica. Hashtag Terra Mystica is the real TM. Jasco funded Evil Dead 2 board game on Kickstarter, but they're also delivering to those who backed the original failed project on Kickstarter. Good for them. And finally, in non-board game news, give it up for Greta Thunberg, 16 and has already done more than a lot of people will ever do. Amazing. Okay, it's time to leave your union rep behind and head on over to Kickstarter, which as we know is just a pre-order system and you know it. Beneath is a sometimes co-op game of mining and mayhem as players play as dwarves fighting monsters and their colleagues to try and get their hands on the legendary King's Gift first. There is a solo and co-op campaign. It's for 1 to 4 players, takes 40 minutes per player. The minimum pledge for the game plus estimated UK shipping is around £77 and is due to be delivered in March 2020. And that's it. Dark Hand Games were the only company to email me about the Kickstarters for this month. So if you want your Kickstarter to be in this segment, email me at rob@jtrpodcast.com. And I'm keeping this segment indie. I'm not going for the bigger names anymore. And that's it. Links to all these bits mentioned are in the description below. Above my head is the subscribe button. If you click it, you get a reward of 1 free lifetime subscription. Over there are some other bits for you to click on with some videos. Bye.